Welcome to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast. Lieutenant Colonel Ken Crigliano, your co-host. Welcome back to the Warrior Gamer Headquarters podcast and show, where we discuss all of the most relevant esports and gaming material so that you don't have to go anywhere else. Doesn't matter how many subscribers the other people have. This is where you ought to go for your information, your entertainment, and your education. So we have some of the world's foremost experts who join us as speakers and as my co-hosts. So today we're talking about something very interesting that I have not really seen discussed on other shows or podcasts, which is high school esports. And what's the future, what's current status, etc. I'm not an expert on this, so I'm going to pontificate as if we were out at dinner and we're just with friends, as I'm sure everyone else here is going to do as well. So, Bilal, you proposed this topic, and we talked a little bit about it. So I'm interested to know why you're so interested in this.
So the interest for this topic really came from the last episode. We were talking with Taryn Morgan of Morgan State University. Speaking of, I didn't even ask him if there was a relationship with his last name of the university. Is that a thing? I had to. I didn't even get a chance to ask because I didn't think about it. So maybe we'll leave that for another time. I'll probably just hit him up another time. But so Collegiate eSports. He's working in Collegiate eSports, and he's not the only one. There are plenty of others working in Collegiate eSports. And then what do you have? You have programs that are given scholarships to players to play these games. And it usually doesn't go any further than that. Sometimes, if you're lucky, these players can get recruited by more elite teams, but usually that's done through a kind of a third-party system. Compare this to traditional sports. I mean, basketball is the easiest one. A lot of people play basketball. There's a pipeline for that. I mean, as young as when you're 4 years old, you can hop onto a team at the YMCA, just work your way up. Maybe you go to a travel team. High school, you join a team, and what happens in high school? Suddenly you have coaches who are talking about your nutrition, your fitness. The game gets a lot more serious compared to anything you've ever seen in the past. Your games are starting to gather a live audience of people that aren't your family members, which we've kind of alluded to in the past episodes. And you have recruiters. You have people who are actively seeking out players saying, hey, this is who I want on my team, Division II, full ride scholarship, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what you have is this pipeline. And then these college people get recruited to teams, be it in the NBA sometimes or leagues outside of the United States, especially if they're international students and they want to go back home. And so there's a pipeline for traditional sports, and this pipeline does not yet exist for esports. But what we're seeing with collegiate esports is that something is starting to happen. A pipeline is starting to form. And I know it may be a bit early to talk about this, but I haven't heard anybody talk about it. What does that look like for the high school level? And of course, eventually we could talk about middle school, elementary school, but I want to know what's happening at a high school level that is kind of gearing these kids towards a direction where they can look at collegiate esports as a legitimate opportunity. So we'll start with that as the interest. I'd like to hear from everybody else here.
Yeah, no, I think that, again, Robert Morris was the first college to offer scholarships right here in Chicago for esports, and that really changed the game. We offer scholarships for esports at Illinois Tech, and there definitely is a pipeline. There are amazing high school teams out there that are doing just, they've got more funding than their normal traditional sports now because the interest is there. So the schools are funding where the interest is. And it's really exciting. We still have my esports coordinator at Illinois Tech goes into the high schools just like the basketball coach, looking for folks who are playing our games. We play 13 different titles. So he's scouting for folks who will be on our Valorant team. We've got 3 pros on our Valorant team right now. And they knew about us because unlike traditional sports, everybody's stats are real public in esports. So you can see what schools have the best players. So there was a time we had just a wicked Rainbow Six team, and we got a lot of students who came here because they wanted to play with those particular players. So I'm so excited about the growing high school leagues. There's in Illinois, we have a fantastic, one of the biggest esports discord is a high school discord. There's amazing coaches in the high school space. There's amazing managers in the high school space. There are people who their whole job is to make sure that these kids can travel. You know, we spent $40,000 on our travel budget last year, going to playing against different schools. So it's definitely just as invested in as traditional sports, particularly now. The first colleges to take the leap and build out big facilities have really, I think they've done a service to their students. And really, like you said, spectatorship. This is something that instantly your spectators are on Twitch, your spectators are on YouTube, your spectators are all around the world, rather than just a handful of spectators that can fit in a gym or to watch a college basketball game.
Right. And they don't have to encourage people with free t-shirts or free food to go. You just got to click a few links. So I guess what I want to know is, when we talked to Taryn, we discussed, or I should call him Dr. Morgan, he's a professor. It's the better way to address him. He talked a little bit about how there needs to be a proof of concept and how there's some bureaucracy to kind of get through in order to establish these programs at a collegiate level. But with high school, it's a little different, because in college, these students are largely adult, people are independent, and for the most part, you just have to deal with collegiate bureaucracy. And colleges, they're trying to make money, and there's a lot of money to be made in esports. High schools don't really exist to make money. And high schools also have a PTA. So to me, it looks like there's more hoops to go through. So from your knowledge, April, how exactly are they getting through these hoops?
Yeah, so I will have to say, high schools are there making money. There are a ton of private high schools that do nothing but rake in the cash.
Wow.
Okay. And for those schools, they absolutely have to have an esports presence with the same state-of-the-art facilities that they put some colleges to shame. The high schools in our neighborhood, we've got high schools that have better facilities than we do, actually, to be honest with you. And I just popped in the chat a link for the high school esports league. There are also some really amazing work that's being done out of Irvine in California, out of the University of Irvine. Matt Deppy and Karen and those guys are doing, Kathy, I'm sorry, oh my God, she's gonna kill me. They're working directly with the high schools, and they're building out the esports curriculum for the high schools in their neighborhood. So they are very organized. They've been organized for like 15 years. So that this is where the kids' interests are, starting in middle school with Minecraft and Roblox and growing into Rocket League and growing into Overwatch and League of Legends and Valorant, Dota 2 for our international kids. But high school is where they're playing it. And that's where their peak is, to be honest. By the time they're college kids, they've been playing for years. This is, they're at the tail end of their peak performance cycle in this space. When they're in high school, they are at the top of their games.
So, okay, this is good. My brain has been going, and I've been Googling things as you're talking, so that I'm a little more knowledgeable on it. So, the sports, so you bring up a really good point about like the pipeline. So there is a massive pipeline for traditional sports, and the colleges make that return on investment by selling tickets, selling sponsorships, right? And companies stumble over themselves to try to give their stuff to the colleges. I mean, Ohio State football, like these football and even like rugby and lacrosse and volleyball. I mean, these are very, very popular. And I don't really see like a college or a high school building out a gaming facility and like Dell falling it over itself to give them computers, right? I don't know if that's happening, but if it is, that would be very interesting. And if it isn't, when do you guys think it will? And then like when me and my wife look at schools, we go to the school grading websites, right? Like Great Schools, etc. When are we going to see a line in there for esports and gaming? I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on that.
So I can jump in. So I just popped a link for Ohio State. They have just invested crazy money in their esports, and Dell is one of their partners. Dell is right on their website.
Look at that.
If you look at it, I mean, it's like you knew.
Front and center.
And University of Irvine, their esports it's you've got powered by right there. So people are doing it. Not it's more common than you think. In Philadelphia, Comcast does some really cool sponsorship. Oh, you shared my link. But yes, my esports coordinator came from ISU, and their board of trustees just gave $5.9 million to build out their esports centers and build out computers. And that is not uncommon. So people are understanding right now that we've got Dell technology in our esports center. We got Alienware. We do not have 90 like Ohio State. But we've got enough for our, we don't have as many kids as they do. We've got, 6,000 kids right now. But it's definitely a fantastic time to be in this space, because navigating what people are playing, how they're interacting with each other, and really using esports as a tool for retention. This is why the universities are building it out. And same with high school. High school has the same retention issues. They need kids to stay in when they join. They need kids to show up. They need truancy to be less than truancy is. And when you have folks who have a GPA that they need to keep up to stay on the esports team, they stay in school and they work hard. And I think that, the students on our esports team are doing the same level of practice, the same level of reviewing the films, the same level of working together as others are in other sports.
You guys seeing this?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's not small. These are high schools. There's another, let me give you another high school link. Wow. Yes, it is big business. And not only is it big business for the high schools to have esports, if your high school does not have esports, you are at a disadvantage.
I'm sorry, April, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So what I'm seeing here is, besides this, if I look up like awesome universities, like I know what to expect in what, states and cities and stuff, but these are like, Arizona, Alabama, Hawaii's on here twice, Rhode Island, Alabama, is Colorado, okay.
Colorado, Hawaii. Don't you know what's awesome about this though? Like, it doesn't discriminate.
That's where I was going, Bilal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, take it away. Take it away.
No, you're on it. Kentucky to Maine, Arkansas, Utah. Yeah, there's Texas, Utah, more Texas, Louisiana. This is Alaska.
New Mexico, California. Hey, La Quinta.
Yeah.
The good news about the high school level play is it truly is an ability. You don't have to be 6'2" and 300 pounds to play. That's right. You can really invite everybody who wants to practice can get good. And I think it's one of the great equalizers, depending on which sport. And this list is from 2019. And I think one of the, COVID had a lot of harm, but one of the benefits was that once people figured out they need to connect with each other anyway, they realized that the esports teams and the folks who are into esports have already been connecting this way. And I think that, and then there was a lot of grants and a lot of funding to help folks build out their labs during COVID that they didn't have before. My friend Joy works at Google. They just released a gaming Chromebook.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. But the growth in high school esports is astronomical, and it's in part because the colleges are leaning into, validating it and recognizing it, but mostly it's because the kids are playing anyway. And if the kids are playing anyway, you want to be where the kids are.
This is incredible.
And this is amazing. Where was this when I was in high school?
$20,000 Facebook grant. So I'm
Oculus,
on. Yeah, that's cool. So I'm on a presidential level AI council, and we help advise the president where he or she should put cash, right? I'm curious if the federal government is focusing on giving high schools cash to build esports, because I just completed a few days ago the Armed Forces National Triathlon Championships. And in order to get on that team now, I'm the longest serving member of all time in all world military history, we think. Mainly because there's not a lot of data on it, so we can't prove the opposite.
You are until proven otherwise.
15 years or so, and 17 qualifications, but like now we have to go through the Armed Forces gaming website simply because they have all the cash. And I'm curious, like, if the federal government is incentivizing these high school gaming initiatives, because the ROTC budget is absolutely massive. And I'm curious if the ROTC programs at the high JROTC and the ROTC are like getting that, are feeling that momentum. Very curious. This is very interesting to me.
I think that if they're not, I would be very surprised, just because, they're on top of what is happening and where people are focused. And one of the things, every esports sort of broad event that I've been to, I've seen the Army there. And when I asked them why are they there, one of the things they said was because the same things that you need to be good at Counter-Strike, you need to be to be a solid member of our armed forces. So it's the confidence, the pride, the ability to do your job, the ability to work as a team, all of that. You found your high school kid?
Wow. No, this is the number one in the country, evidently.
Oh, gotcha.
And it's
public.
Right there. Like, wow.
Yeah, if you look up NASEF, you'll see another great list. NASEF does some fantastic work just recruiting middle school and high school programs. So they teach people who want to start a program. Here's a boilerplate for you to start your program. Oh, there you go.
North America Scholastic Esports Foundation.
Yeah.
Literally NASEF.
Yeah. They're really, and again, they worked in league with University of California at Irvine, and they've done some fantastic work in spreading the word about esports and making sure that it's healthy, and that letting people know, it's not any more addictive than anything else you could be doing with your time. They're fantastic. And they have really great support structure for people who want to start esports centers at the high school level and at the middle school level. They have, toolkits, they have a whole curriculum. Oh, wow. Cool. I didn't see that. I didn't know they had that. But they
Very
work with the
interesting.
publishers and stuff. So COPE, okay, there's another COPE, that's the parental organization. See that purple one there?
Coalition
Yeah.
of Parents in Esports.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing.
They're also doing some really cool work
Wow.
with high schools. Same with NAC. NAC, if you go to NAC, that one also really, really, really connected. So there's a ton of high school esports activities out there, and it's only growing. And especially as people, don't want to worry about the concussions from football, don't want to worry about what you have to do in terms of insurance if you're even playing soccer or tennis. Tennis doesn't work in the inner city if you don't have a tennis course that's safe for people to play on outside. But you can play Counter-Strike. You can play Valorant, you can play League without putting anybody in danger or outside.
Bilal, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, which is if you look at like physical sports, and where like really good players are and where world-class athletes go to train, there's not a lot of selection. I mean, it's like Mammoth Lake, right? Up in Utah, Colorado Springs, Boulder, some of these, New York City's a big runner. So is DC for triathlon. And, that's it. So you're really governed by availability and weather. And I'm curious, man, like, are we going to see like Alaska, Nebraska, the Dakotas, like blowing up with like, hey, we can equalize and like get these folks that, Stanford and Harvard. I doubt Harvard's going to have like a killer esports thing that would be like as world class as or world known as their medical and their legal. What do you think, man? You think they're going to start like being up there? And
I think if the interest is there, then the playing field will be evened out, definitely, because you don't need to have the specifics that other sports have. I mean, look at martial arts, for example, right? A lot of people like martial arts, but it's a little bit on the more expensive side compared to, a sport like soccer where you can just kind of go out, play it with a ball. A ball may cost you $20 to $30 and that's it. You won't have to pay $100 a month just for tuition. Gymnastics does the same thing. And you can kind of see this with the demographic makeup of each sport. There's a very specific type of people that do well in those sports. And then let's take a more, I don't want to call this an extreme example. Maybe it's extreme to me because I live where there's like sun all the time. Take winter sports. I mean, who's winning in winter sports? It's not the people from Texas. I mean, you got Canada, Russia,
not Florida.
right? Right. So it's like wherever there's snow, you have a chance, but otherwise you don't. I mean, with esports, you just need an internet connection, and most places have that. Right. The barrier to entry is a lot lower. And sure, there's an element of cost. I mean, you can look at, for example, when we talk about demographics, the fighting game community is very diverse. You'll see a mix of every type of person, white, black, Asian, you name it, you'll see it. But then you go to, Valorant and League. If you look at League, there's only been one black player, and that's Aframu. He's since retired. Very great player, great support player. But other than that, I mean, the demographics can be a little bit skewed. So some games, there may be a bit of a difference because the barrier to entry might be a little bit higher as far as the specifications required for your system. But, as these crypto heads start, stop buying all these graphics cards and stuff, and as schools start to fund these things, then these will become more available and you will see the demographic grow. I mean, what was the statistic Dr. Morgan talked about? Some 85% of black kids play video games. Then that's massive. Yeah. That's the overwhelming majority. That's not even just the majority. So you can imagine for across other ethnicities what that looks like. And then that's going to eventually show in the esports world long term.
And I believe you, Tim Bilal. I always say, people were asking me if I'm on the diversity committee at our university, and I just put my foot down and I say, esports is the best thing that I can do for diversity at this place. And in terms of League and Overwatch and other games where you need time to practice, you need 5 people to practice with, you need, there's, in addition to the system, you need a lot of time to learn the game. You need, there's just other things that you need that you don't need in the fighting game community. And the fighting game community has been part of the African American community since the 70s. And I think that there's some fantastic research and articles on the growth of that. And I got to see Sonic Fox here in Chicago once. It was so much fun to look around that room, and it was just couldn't have been a more diverse room. And it was just a fantastic experience. It was an Injustice 2 championship that he was winning. And again, the money is there. Unlike basketball, unlike NFL, there are opportunities to earn long beyond your prime in gaming. And I think that's, especially with the content creator angle, with the other approaches, I've got students who've paid off their student loans because they have, they figured out how to set their Patreon up, how to do really kick-ass highlight reels that make you come back and want to subscribe to their Twitch channels and pay $5 a month and so forth and so on. So I think esports is uniquely poised to bridge the digital divide and to bring people together who would have normally never met each other. That same Rainbow Six player I was talking about, he's from India. And he said that nothing more than esports was instrumental for his confidence and for his acclimation to this culture. Esports is what he would credit, amongst all of the courses he took, amongst all of the activities he had, his time doing esports is what he credits for his growth and his confidence.
And you hint at something really important there, the international diversity. So we talked about fighting game community, and you mentioned India. So just up northwest, there's a country, Pakistan. That's where my family's from. And sure enough, that's where the best Tekken 7 players are at. Fighting game. Yeah. And they're beating out the Koreans. Like, look at Oasis Honey, Arsalan Ash. These names are very big in the fighting game community. I mean, how surprising is it that a country that had virtually no esports exposure whatsoever is suddenly playing at the top level? And you can attribute that to part of their culture. I mean, they're going outside, they're going to the arcade, they're social indoors, and they're just playing at the arcade with each other, bettering themselves. And eventually they get so good within their own community, they just take that out to the world. And suddenly you're like, whoa, where did these guys come from? And they've been building that talent for years, and we had no idea. And even more interestingly, it's not even just ethnic demographic, it's also health demographic. I mean, we talk about with sports like basketball, it's the easiest example. You need to be really tall. Football, you need to be really big. Esports, you can be however you want. The category of games I like to play are rhythm games. And the thing about rhythm games, and this is pretty interesting. This is an observation I've noticed. I've been playing these games for years. These games are incredibly repetitive. You're playing the same song 50, 60, 70 times. Think Guitar Hero. Imagine like Through the Fire and Flames. Remember Chris for Life when he was the first person to get 100% on that song when nobody else did? Think about how many times he had to play the same song over and over and over and over and over again. It's repetition. And what I found in my experience interacting with the community, there's a lot of people around me who are on the autism spectrum. And why is that? The autism spectrum, they love repetition. Right. And so these games work for them, whereas another sport that has a lot of variation and all these moving parts, it might be a little confusing. And now they have a place. So this extends beyond just ethnic boundaries. It even goes into mental health.
Man, I got so much. So it's very interesting. Yeah. So I'm very interested in considering myself a bit experienced in the area of like autism and Asperger's and some of these neurodiverse conditions. And one thing I've noticed, 100% rhythm, repetition, kids who have these neurodiverse conditions love swings because it's, they love music. And it's very, very interesting to me when you make that observation of like, they call it disassociation. psychological term of when someone goes and does those repetitions, and it's actually self-soothing, and it's good for them. It's great for them. I love that, and I'm glad that we brought that up. Going back a couple statements, do you think that certain games incentivize or prevent inclusion by the way that they're designed and the demographics or the social norms of players? I don't know if I made sense with that.
You did make sense. And funny enough, I actually did an essay on this during my first year of undergrad. The topic, so long story short, this class was about semiotic analysis, which is essentially you take a form of medium and you explain why that's relevant to the society in that day and age. For example, you take a Coca-Cola ad of the 1960s versus a Coca-Cola ad of the 2020s. What is it about the content of those ads that are different? I mean, the 1960s ad might have more families. People were more family-oriented, whereas today, Coca-Cola ad might have more young people going out for a party, going out for a bonfire. You know, it's more relatable to the times. And she warned us first day of class, this is going to be your final project. Do not do one on video games. You will not be able to find any relationship. And I was the only one who did it on video games. I got an A on that essay. And what did I do it on? The game Overwatch. So what is Overwatch? Now, most people know of it. It's a team-based, used to be 6 versus 6 at the time. Now it's 5 versus 5, team-based, first-person shooter. Now, who's on the cover of that game? It's not a guy. It's not a soldier. It's Tracer. Tracer's a female, and she's not heterosexual. She's actually lesbian. This was confirmed in a comic, right? How many first-person shooter games have that level of diversity front and center? Look at Call of Duty, look at Halo, look at Battlefield. It's overwhelmingly male, overwhelmingly. There was one Battlefield game that had a female cover on it, and that wasn't received very properly because historical inaccuracy. But look at the cover of Overwatch. She's a female. And look at all the characters in that game. They come from all parts of the world. Symmetra from India, Hanzo and Genji from Japan, you know, Farah from Egypt. Bastion's a robot. I mean, Reinhardt from Germany. You could go on, right? The diversity is embedded in this game.
Right? Is that a dude from Planet of the Apes? I mean, we are very inclusive.
We love Winston.
Yeah.
Our homie Winston. Oh, he's amazing. But like, you see this, like, this is the type of game that might, you know, attract a diverse crowd. If you look at League of Legends, very popular game. I know I reference this a bunch. It's just because I play it. If you ask a female League of Legends player what they play, most often it's a support champion. Now look at how the support champions are designed. They're designed, oftentimes they're female. Oftentimes they have a lighter color tone. There is one like very hardcore, very rough around the edges female support, Renata Glask, and shameless plug, I helped make a video about her in the digital.games. Go check it out. Renata Glask, PCP. You'll find it if you see it. But the support characters are largely female. They're largely more gentle playing. They have a passive sort of play style as opposed to some champions like Sion that just rush in and completely disrupt the entire team. You can play in the back and throw a heal there, a shield there, give you some vision and support the team from a macro angle as opposed to just spamming keys and then losing 3,000 health points. Like, you don't have to do that. And so the different characters appeal to different people depending on your interests. If you look at Call of Duty, that diversity doesn't really exist, right? I mean, it's mostly soldiers just kind of going in. You have to go hard. Even if you're playing like a different style of gameplay, it's still a pretty hard in your face style of gameplay. Guys are going to be mostly into that.
So is this true? I mean, do the player stats support like or mirror?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if you look at professional esports teams, specifically female teams in League of Legends, they have trouble recruiting because a lot of the top female players are support players. That's not a bash on female players. It's just a preference. It is what it is, you know, for every, top, mid laner, right? There's going to be like 5 or 6 support players. And even then the mid laners, instead of playing, say, an assassin champion, right? Assassin, high damage, go in, get out. They're going to play a control mage kind of in the back, controlling the game from a bigger angle. So you can kind of see the theme here, that you'll often see certain demographics of people gravitating towards certain characters, and that can make it, from a population standpoint, it can make it difficult to recruit, and it can make it difficult for other people within that same demographic to want to get into the game because they feel like there's nothing for them there.
So I'm curious. Sorry, we're just talking about male female, but what about like the games that like appeal to certain cultures? You made like a reference to that, and what I first thought was like Arthur Lydiard was one of the greatest coaches of all time, and so many years the understanding was like certain Asian demographics, because of their physical build, there's many times shorter legs, everyone was like, they can't be good runners. And Arthur Lydiard like went over there and made them into gold medalists and was like, no, doesn't matter, training methodology. So what about these games are there some that like appeal to certain cultures more?
Yeah, there are. So a good game, and one of my favorite YouTube channels, Ranton, Ranton. So short backstory about him: he trained at the Shaolin Temple for about 3 years, and martial arts is a big passion area for him. So he likes martial arts games, and one of the games he really likes is Sifu, right? And it has martial arts components to it. Not everybody's going to be into that. It's a specific demographic. It has a lot of cultural references, and the language isn't in English, right? So there are definitely some games that appeal to certain cultures. Generally speaking, because of the international market, games are trying to appeal to a wider audience, right? If you look at Genshin Impact, they're trying to, the way that game is designed is they have different regions which mirror different parts of the world, and different characters which also mirror different parts of the world, different cuisine that mirrors different parts of the world. And yes, there are some games that are more culturally specific. They do exist, though I don't know too many examples other than Sifu off the top of my head. Maybe Sekiro. Sekiro is another one, but I can't think of like too many off the top of my head.
April, I'm sorry, and I spoke over you. Go.
Oh no, it's all good. One of the things I was going to say is that I really feel that as computing gets stronger and mobile technology gets better, these games are going to run smoothly on phones in a few years. And these games that right now are limited because you need a 3080 Ti graphics card, you need a screen that's got a 0.05 millisecond, all of the, I think as our technology improves, our access is going to improve. And right now, like I did a podcast with a guy in Ghana who's going and doing mobile contests around Africa. And, he just brings a generator and a bunch of switches, and, the kids, and they have a ball. And I think as as games grow and as games expand beyond just the ones we know, beyond the ones that we give scholarships for at colleges, you'll definitely see more diversity. Right now, you're right, I don't know the exact stat, but I would say it's over 90% in terms of, folks who are on these teams that are collegiate, just collegiate players who are at that elite level. But in part, it's for the same reason that there are not that many, hockey players that are at that elite level that are diverse. It's, it's a question of access. And as the game changes, that access is going to grow. And I think just like Bilal said, Pakistan surprised us. I think other parts of the world and other parts of the country are going to surprise us as we make the barriers to entry go away.
So Bilal, while I was at the triathlon championships, we had dessert the day of the race as a little bit of a reward, and we had a very heated conversation on what we thought talent was. And I'm very well read on this, and I believe, as most of the books, that talent is overrated, and you're not born with these genetic propensities to be a basketball player or whatever. You have physical attributes that fit well into certain things, but you don't have like increased blood capability that will help you be a whatever. Do you think that in some time, some period in the future, that there will be some prevailing, I call it the loser's excuse, like, hey, these guys were born to do that stuff. I work hard, right? I get what I put in. Do you think that at some point they're going to be like, oh man, like these people are like born to play X game, or do you think there might be even physical attributes, finger length, or whatever it is, capabilities that people were born with that might make them better at certain games?
Oh, interesting you mentioned that, because you remind me of Michael Phelps, and his body's like designed for swimming. So in that sense, like people like that exist from a physical realm, but I think esports has a lot of constraints with, you just being stationary, and your degrees of freedom is just limited to your hands for the most part, hands and eyes, right? And for the most part, they all function almost identically. If you're talking about purely speed, I mean, not many games require that much speed to the point where it wouldn't even make a genetic difference. Very few. The only games I can think of are rhythm games and StarCraft. And that's it. And even then, the players within those communities, as I've been a part of both, they're not concerned about genetics. I mean, this isn't something that we talk about. We joke around and we might say, oh, the reason they won is because they had a better gaming chair. That's a joke. That's a running joke in the community for sure. But I've never heard a genetic difference. I do know that there are some people who have the better mindset to learn a certain game. In that sense, there's a propensity. So if you look at Apex Legends, you can look at Asu, or a controller player. You can look at Ecstasy, I believe his name is. And these guys just play out of their mind. They're not normal first-person shooter players. So these guys are like head and shoulders above the rest as far as their mechanical skill goes. And sure, there's an element of talent to that, but they're also playing, 12 plus hours a day. So how much does talent really contribute when you have this much work, going off the screen quite literally? When you have that much work, the amount of talent is a very minimal difference at that point. It's like you're trying to compare, a 240 frame refresh rate monitor versus like 250, 260. I mean, it's diminishing returns at that point. There's other things to focus on.
And then I would add to that, one of the things that, like, I'm reading right now, a book by T.L. Taylor, and she's a fantastic researcher in this area. She's from MIT. And one of the things that they count is really how many decisions can you make in a millisecond? And that's something you can train for. Like everything that, in the argument, is this a sport or is this not a sport? The other things that they count are reaction rate. Twitch is named Twitch because people are counting Twitch time. Yes, there she is. She's awesome. I absolutely adore her. I think, like, to your point, this is far less genetic than it is how much time and energy you put in to learning the skills that you need to make it automatic, to make it just like Bruce Lee, to make it come when you need it to come, to make the decision factors to be so ingrained in your body that when X happens, Y automatically occurs in your body. And that discipline is, that's the same for every sport. That, you don't, if you're stopping to think about, well, what should I do? Who should I do? What, you're already lost. So I think this is even, and I know I'm probably getting in trouble for saying this, but I think in the digital space, it's even more demanding, because not only do you have to think fast, you have to move fast, you have to anticipate what the people around you are doing, you have to, and it's not just fast, it's precise to a level that is in no other experience. That's what I think it's hard to explain to people who are not gamers, the level of precision it takes to pull off some of these moves that they're doing.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and you think about competition, I mean, it sounds obvious, but I mean, I feel like I should say it. Competition is literally, are you better than the next person? Two people can be really bad, but if one person is just a little bit better, then that person is the best. Objectively, they have not reached their full potential. But the thing about gaming, when we compare it to sports, there's also a biological limitation. I mean, these people are practicing 4 to 6 hours a day on sports, which is incredibly intense. Yes, there's a rest. Your body physically can only do so much. But with esports, your brain, I mean, you could play forever, theoretically. You can play for 12 hours, 16 hours, and players do. But you also have to take care of your physical health on top of that. I don't see, football players, soccer players, going home and focusing on their mechanics through, playing Overwatch, right? They're not going home and working on their processing speed per minute. They're not doing that. But what you do see with esports is, in addition to the esports talent that they have to, accumulate and essentially raise to the next level, they also have to make sure their physical health is in track. So now a lot of these teams are having doctors and coaches. And so they effectively have to do both in order to perform at their highest level, whereas athletes in other sports, they only have to do one. Now you can argue, okay, well, doing both, there's some ease to that because you don't have to highly specialize in athletics. I mean, you can make that argument, of course, but that doesn't take away from the difficulty of esports training, and that's seriously underestimated.
And then, Ken, I just popped in the chat. We can't mention fighting games without talking about Evo.37. So if you don't know anything about video games, I want to share that link for the folks who are wondering why we're so passionate about this and how a skill that you don't even recognize until you see it. I think this is a moment that really it's in history. It's a moment that people are like got chills over, that are talking about or telling their grandchildren about.
All right, so tell us a little bit. Yeah, tell us a little bit. I got it up. I got the.
You got it up.
Quite insane, actually.
It's classic. It's a classic moment, and it's one of those times where you really know that this is something special, that sports is not just the game you play. Sports is the emotion around the game you play. Sports is the diligence and the timing and the ability to actually, dedicate yourself to a passionate project and become the best at it, and not give up and not allow anybody else to take you down. And it puts sports and esports right on par with each other. And this was like one of the very first times that happened. And it's just a classic moment. And I just want everybody to go watch it. It's on YouTube.
Yeah, you have to watch it to understand it.
You have to watch it. I can't explain it. Yeah, you have to watch it. It's fantastic.
All right, I'll put it in the show notes.
Thank you.
And this looks like it was a while ago.
Yeah, yes, very long time ago.
Okay.
But people still talk about it.
And again, it adds the element that no one ever dreamed that there would be a spectator side to esports. But as early as Space Wars, back in the 70s with MIT, there was a spectator side to esports. So this really clinches that. And I think that, you can't talk about fighting game communities without the battles that were in the arcades over who's the best, who's got the high score. And right now in China, I think it's called the Wangba. They, instead of playing at home, they play at internet cafes. So, they have a social component that is physical, a virtual component, and then, people are playing all different games and they come together. It's like almost the only time and space that there's no pressure from home. Their mom doesn't steal the curtains. There's no food to be eaten. They can just be themselves and relax and have a ball and compete against each other. So it's such a freedom, such a breath of fresh air from the pressures of work and school and society. That the role that gaming plays in people's lives all over the world, it's just so important.
So going back a couple steps here, it takes me a minute. These are the 4 stages, Bilal, I think that you were just referring to, which is the levels of mastery where you go from unconscious incompetence, you don't know why you suck, right? To going, oh, wow, okay, I know why I suck at this, to being, okay, yeah, I got this, to it's just flow, right? Which we've talked about a lot on the show. So in case for folks, wanted to kind of look at this or be knowledgeable about the concept, these are the 4 stages of mastery or 4 stages of competence that folks go through.
This is perfect. Yeah.
And I got this from ChatGPT. So like, I know these things, but like, I know them, but I'm like, well, let me just hit, like, I know enough to be dangerous, because here, please explain the background of the 4 stages. At least I got those right. So I was pretty happy about that, but it does a pretty good job. And oh, by the way, I got invited to do Bard from Google. Bard. Yeah. Absolutely atrocious, but it tried. It was trying. I'm still a big GPT fan, OpenAI fan. It's great. I use it all the time. So this is really interesting stuff here. So while we wrap it up, man, we're going out on a rocket. This is great. So we started off with high school, right? And so when I was in high school, oh my gosh, I had a green screen computer, and we were playing Oregon Trail, and we played games to learn, right? I mean, and we did it. We've been doing it for years and years and years. And so how do you think, and if it's okay with you guys, we can end here. I got to run. You guys can stay. But how do you think this advanced gaming technology and in the sophisticated like platforms will affect, like, hey, I want to learn biology, right? I'm now a biology person in high school, or engineering or architecture or legal or whatever. How do you think that this is going to kind of I just view it as like it's putting a lot of pressure on these other programs of like,
yeah, remember
this is
episode
cool.
5, Level X?
I actually had dinner with Sam tonight.
Yeah.
And
you did?
It was awesome to see him, because that was December. So that was about 5 or 6 months ago.
Nice.
And they are doing such more cool stuff. We're gonna have him back on the show soon. But go ahead, Bilal. I'm interested, man.
What you're talking about is exactly what he's doing. So episode 5, if anybody wants to check it out.
That's right.
Yeah, Level X. We're talking about how gaming is being used for learning. I know our school opened up like a VR area where we can use technology to understand different disease processes, how to understand surgical procedures. So this is very much happening, but don't want to go too far. We can always save this for another episode. Stick around. It's pretty interesting stuff. Level X, episode 5. Do check it out.
And to just jump on that, on the back of what Bilal said, if you learn in VR, there's some stats that say you're going to learn a lot faster, up to 40% faster, because you're not just reading or you're not just listening. You're actually physically engaging with something. Even if it feels virtual, you do the exact same things. You're moving your hands, you're grabbing things, you're reading things. I would love to be in the Matrix and just all of a sudden say, I know Kung Fu from a download. I think we're going to get there one day. But until we get there, I think, things like the work that Sam is doing at Level X, there are other companies that are doing work that allows you to, not only can you get medical credit from the games, from finishing Sam's games, he can give people the ability to practice just like our gamers are practicing. So when your doctor's doing your colonoscopy and it's a very rare procedure, it won't be the first time he's tried that. So I think that's just so exciting. Learning, and it's not our learning that's going to be the critical game changer. It's the machine's learning that's going to be the critical game changer, and what we train those machines on. I actually just I got to share this one article. My boss shared it with me, and it was about AI. Okay, it's called an AI whisperer. You ready for this link? It's unbelievable. Okay, pop this one up, Ken. This is where the future is. I think as we grow, figuring out how to grow with AI, figuring out how to train AI, how to train out the biases, how not to train in our existing biases, because that's happening right now. If you train AI based on the books that are in the county jails right now, they're going to reflect the same biases that got them in this state that they are today. So yes, this is I think a fantastic time to be alive. This article says, it's stuck on our side, but it says $355,000 a year to be an AI whisperer. I think that's like the title of the article. And can you mute it?
Ken? Is everything okay?
Okay, sorry. My mouse was caught in
Your
this.
mouse is, the AI
trying to make me.
Your mouse?
Yeah, so I don't know if we're gonna get sued to show this, but fair use policy here. We are a foundation as educational. Bloomberg, don't come after me. I know where you live, Michael. I have ChatGPT. I can find out where you live. So, yeah, this is cool.
Oh, you want me to? I can give you the IIT version of it if that's better. Hold on.
Did I? Oh, I paused it. No, I'm sorry. I forgot I paused it. No, I got in. I have the Air Force gives me a membership to this. So,
fantastic.
This is good.
Here's our IIT version. So our marketing and communication thought it would be fun to let AI write their IIT article on AI. So that's cool. That's what the second link is. Is the article that AI wrote.
Okay. Block hiding wizard. Nice.
Dude, I can't stand ads. I'm so over it.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what else we got here. Boom.
Prompt engineer. So you're telling me I should just drop out? Hello?
Well, dude, just imagine you go through all your training and then you do this for like the pharmaceutical companies. I mean, can you imagine on the way to my competitions, and by the time this airs, I might be able to say, but like Ninja Warrior and then a national triathlon championship, I thought I was going to die trying to train for these things. And I got like sick, like very bad sick. And I used ChatGPT to find out exactly what was wrong with me. I know they say don't do that, but I was able to go right into the ER and just go, I need an H. pylori test. I know I have it. And I urged them and forced them, and they did it. And they gave me the prescriptions for it without the diagnosis because I was so convinced. Now, I'm curious, Bilal, like, you could do this, man. You get your medical training.
Yeah, it's happening.
And look, you build a prompt. You do what Sam did, level X, and you're like, hey, this is your prompt on how to self-diagnose. And at least it gets you 80% of the way. And then a physician pops up on the screen. Hey, I see that you think you have H. pylori.
Yeah, it's happening. There's a emerging field of medicine called clinical informatics. So after your residency, you can do a fellowship on clinical informatics. You're studying data science, and some people use data science and learn how to code so that they can write their own algorithms and sell them to companies. So yeah, it's happening. I might go into that field. Who knows? We'll see.
Side job.
Yeah. My mind's all over the place. I mean, there's so much with technology, video games. Like I want to do it all, but I can't. I need to find something, but right now I just have to study.
Yeah, that sucks, right? I mean, you gotta earn your seat at the table, man, even though you know what's for dinner and you can cook it and you know how to eat it, and you still like.
That's exactly what I'm feeling right now.
I know. But what's this? What the movie Limitless, where was it Robert De Niro? Yeah, I think it was Robert De Niro was like, you got to earn your seat at the table. I don't know where you came from. And, like, I remember that. And I know, like, just because of that movie, like, I'm patient. And even if I feel like I'm up to where these other people are, I'm like, I have to earn my seat at the table. I got it. So
I got one more shameless plug, Ken. My event on May 6th is coming up. I just popped the link in the chat. So hopefully if anybody's in the Chicago area listening, hopefully they'll join us at Illinois Tech on May 6th. Amazon AWS is going to be showcasing their AI. They've got an AI program called Deep Racer. So it helps you learn about machine learning and AI. And a game called Hado. We'll be playing Hado there with SHI and LG.
You are
really
like
fun.
You are like crushing it tonight, girl.
Yeah, I made sure to take all those links and post it in we have a little Google Sheets here at Warrior Gamer HQ. So we're going to post all these links on the YouTube channel. So,
oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Our guest speakers are from Mortal Kombat. Yes.
Excuse me, Mortal Kombat.
One of the original designers of Mortal Kombat, Josh Su, is our keynote speaker. And then Don, who did the martial arts for Mortal Kombat 9, 10, and 11. He's also speaking. And we've got a fantastic DJ named DJ Genghis Khan. He's a graffiti artist, a chef, and a gamer. He traveled all over the nation with a famous gamer that I can't name right now for the same reason that Ken can't talk about what he did. But he's going to come and talk about his experience. So it's going to be sick. I hope everybody joins us.
What the heck is this? This is cool.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Goodness.
And then Hado. If you look at Hado, Ken, my God.
How do you spell it?
Hado. It's right up your alley. It's active, but it's also virtual reality. It's augmented reality, actually. So it's all the rage in Japan and Korea. And it's what's next in sports and esports. It's a hybrid.
What is this?
Sick. Have you seen? Oh, it's amazing.
No way. Are they playing dodgeball?
Well, dude, like me with my.
But it looks like
I used to dream of this stuff, and it's happening now.
You would kill it.
Dude, yeah.
Come to Chicago. We'll be playing.
What?
Right.
Yes.
So I could play this?
Yes. Come to Chicago. May 6th. It'll be fantastic.
What in the world?
It really looks like that because you can see it's augmented reality, so you see right through the glasses that are on your head.
Oh,
so it's augmented, and it looks just like that. It's like you're in Battlestar Galactica.
You're like me. You grew up, you watched Yu-Gi-Oh, and you saw them have the dual discs, and the monsters come out. This is basically what that looks like.
Yes, definitely. This is why I'm so excited about the merger of the visual and the digital and sports. I think that's just where it's at.
You know the irony of this, Bilal, is like the first game being like Pong.
Yeah.
And this is like
we've come full circle.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. What headsets do you know what headsets they're using?
So it's proprietary to this system. Actually, the technology is based on Apple's engine.
These people are moving. I mean, you can't be doing this with MetaHead.
No. They're really lightweight. They're like carbon fiber or something. It's really, really cool. And it's huge. It's like there's championships and big giant stadiums sell out. It's huge.
No kidding.
Everywhere else but here.
So how big is this going to be with you in your event?
I'm excited. I don't know how I've been promoting it. Our last event we had over 500 people join us. So I'm hoping to get at least that much with these fantastic guest speakers, and it's gonna be just amazing. We've got a panel to talk about the intersection of esports, game design, and tech education from University of Chicago, University of Illinois, IIT, of course, DePaul. We're gonna do a Smash tournament, so that was always fun. We did Smash long into the night last time we did this. And I'm going to give away a PS5. I'm trying to get a sponsor, but I'm going to buy it myself if I have to.
My God, this is heaven.
Yeah.
We're dorks. We're like drooling. Right? Dude, we can play Pong in real life. We're like super nerds right now. I love this.
I do have a ping pong table up by Robert Blackwell, a killer spin ping pong table. So we're going to have some pro table tennis folks up there.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
I should add that. I'm going to add that. Thank you for letting me know. There is Pong. It's a table tennis in Pong in 3D, 4D.
One of the most humbling experiences I've ever had was to play table tennis with a national ranked player. He just said, just return the serve, Ken. And then he said, Ken, just hit the ball. Just all you have to do is I couldn't even hit the ball. So
wow.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
Yeah.
This is so sweet. I would love to do something like this. It's really cool.
You should come. May 6th, take a break. I'm like Hamilton, take a break.
Yeah. Yeah, lockers and shower. This is
right.
This is cool. Are they thinking about setting one of these up in the States?
If I can convince them to buy it, they will. That's part of my goal. I'm going to see if I can raise some funding for this. I want one at our school.
How much would it take?
I don't know. That's what the conversation on May 6th will be.
Okay.
Because part of that's one of the reasons that they come, to show off their technology, and other schools that are going to be considering buying it and stuff like that.
Very interesting. Okay, cool. Well, on that note, if you're watching and it's not past May 6th, go to this website, which is in the show notes now. Register.
Thank you.
Now, hey, April, can people do like virtual? Can they watch this like virtual?
Yeah, you know what I'm going to do for my talks, not to play. We're going to have loads of play, but for the 3 hours that are talks, I'm going to do a LinkedIn Live for it. So people will be able to jump in and watch us.
Okay, so make sure you send me that link so I can throw it in the show notes.
Awesome.
If you have it yet.
I don't have it yet. I'm meeting with them this week to nail that aspect of it.
Okay.
But I'm so excited. Thank you so much for promoting my show.
Of course. All right. So we have a bunch of really cool people lined up over the next few months, all the way into June. We have some ex-Jocko podcast guests coming in.
Woo!
We're moving on up, folks. We're moving on up. And not to say that our past guests were any below, but we are expanding across laterally. So if anyone's watching and they feel that they could have a really good guest for us, we are awesome. We put them through the tests and we become friends for life. As you know, I met with Sam tonight.
Yay.
And it was just awesome. And he said, dude, we need to schedule like 2 or 3 hours to just hang out. And we love add value to people's lives. So with that, I'm out. Any parting words, phrases, quotes you guys want to throw out? And then
we said a lot.
Yeah.
I think we're good. I think we're good for today.
Yeah. Stay hungry. I mean, just stay hungry. Find your passion and stay hungry. That's what I always tell my kids at the end of the day.
Yes. And register.
Yes, please register. We want to nail that.
All right. WarriorGMR headquarters podcast out.
Very cool.